We will be free! For when the rising tide is turned in every London quarter, Parliament comes crashing down with Robert's Rules of Order!
What day are we on?
The 12th.
What day are we on? What day are we on? What day are we on? Okay, 12th. Okay.
The 12th.
We got to try to get to the 25th. So let's see if we can make some.
Okay.
Let's see if we can burn some holes in Robert's.
Yes, and I'm looking at the time. All right. We're still on previous question. If the execution of an order for the previous question is interrupted.
Yeah.
And the motion or motions that were pending were referred to a committee and are later reported. A.
Wait a minute. Say that one more time. If the previous question was interrupted.
I would like to see I have a Ron Paul button from 88, I think.
I had one. I might still have one.
Well, Richard's going to let me know the cost. Okay. All right. Continuing.
Okay.
If the execution of an order
on
for the previous question is interrupted.
Okay. So if you've called the question.
And it got interrupted somehow. In mid-execution.
Okay.
And the motion or motions that were pending were referred to a committee.
Okay.
And are later reported.
Okay.
A. The motions are not debatable nor amendable unless they are reported at the next session. B. The motions are not debatable or amendable unless they are reported at the next meeting, but not necessarily the next session. C. The motions are open to debate and amendment, even if it is during the same session. D. None of the above are correct.
Okay, the motion was to call the question.
And it was interrupted.
And it was interrupted by something. And the question then was to commit, if I'm understanding.
Then the motion or motions that were pending
were
referred to a committee and then later reported.
So so because of the interruption, there was a motion to commit after the interruption?
Yeah.
Is that even an order?
I'm just reading the question.
Because if you're calling the question, that doesn't proceed directly to a vote. Why would it? Anyway. Okay, so it was committed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the question is, when does that get back?
No. And they were referred to a committee, and then the committee is reporting back.
Right. Okay.
A. The motions that are reported back are not debatable or amendable unless they're reported at the next session.
Mm-hmm.
The motions are not B. The motions are not debatable nor amendable unless they're reported at the next meeting, but not necessarily the next session.
Okay.
C. The motions are open to debate and amendment, even if it is during the same session. D. None of the above.
Give me A and B one more time.
The motions are not debatable or amendable unless they are reported at the next session.
Okay.
B. The motions are not debatable nor amendable unless they are reported at the next meeting, but not necessarily the next session.
Those two contradict each other. At least the way I think I'm understanding it. Which would eliminate D.
I got it. Well, D is none of the above.
Right.
It could still be none of the above.
C is debatable and amendable.
Even if it's during the same session.
Okay.
I don't know. I wouldn't have known the answer to this, by the way.
I'm gonna try to walk through this. If there wasn't the interruption on the calling of the question, I would say C, because the motion coming back out would be debatable and amendable because of the commit. But because there was a call to question which is not debatable and is not amendable, and that got interrupted, that doesn't exhaust it, I would say, was from what we were talking about earlier. Which puts us back to the question of either A or B, which eliminates D. So the question is it A, which was in the next session? Is that what you said? Or B was the next meeting regardless of session?
Okay, both A and B start with the motions are not debatable nor amendable.
Which makes sense. That's part of the previous.
Okay. Yeah. But A says unless they were reported at the next session. And B says unless they were reported at the next meeting, but not necessarily the next session.
The thing of it is, this is my thinking, is that because the interruption of the call of the previous question happened, it wasn't exhausted yet. So it's still attached to something here, which is why it's got to be non-debatable and non-amendable, because it's still there. The question is which one, and I'm going to say B, just because I think that is the better interpretation of how this works.
So B.
Yes.
They're actually saying C.
Really?
I wouldn't have gotten this right. I would have gone down the same path as you. But they say C.
Okay.
Let's see.
No pun intended.
Right.
Why? Okay, section 16, which is...
Yeah, this has got really confusing.
16, and it's page 204. Okay, I'm on the right page. Under a section called, this is obviously a previous question, and this is under a section called exhaustion of the previous question.
Okay.
Found it? Okay. 27 to 35. Okay. If the execution of an order for the previous question is interrupted, and if the motion or motions that were pending come up again later, the rules in the foregoing paragraph, which was above this, apply as follows. Okay, so let's back up a paragraph here. The previous question is said to be exhausted in reference to a particular order for it when all the motions on which it was ordered have been finally disposed of, or when any motions not yet finally disposed of are no longer affected by the order. The conditions for exhaustion of the previous question are the same as for an order limiting or extending limits of debate. That is, 1, when all motions on which the previous question was ordered have been voted on. 2, when those have not yet voted on have been either committed or postponed indefinitely. Okay, there's our commit. Okay, or 3, at the end of the session in which the previous question was ordered, whichever occurs first. Excuse me. After the previous question is exhausted, any remaining questions that come up, again, are open to debate and amendment just as if there had been no order for the previous question. If the execution of an order of the previous question is interrupted, and the motions or motions that were pending come up again later, the rules in the following paragraph apply as follows. Bullet. I don't know if it's a bullet there or not, but
it's a bullet, yeah.
Okay. If the questions were referred to a committee and are later reported, the previous question is exhausted, and the motions are open due to debate and amendment, even if it is during the same session.
It's a rule we just didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. It's just something to know.
And which raises the question, if the interrupt happened, how can they claim it was exhausted?
The same way, I would guess, if something that had been moved had been postponed indefinitely, got referred to committee, the postpone indefinitely falls to the floor.
If it wasn't interrupted, I would agree with you. But it's the interruption part that I'm getting hung up on.
I guess they're just saying because whatever's remaining just falls to the floor because it got referred to committee.
Okay. I mean, if that's the case, fine, but...
It's just a rule that you got to know, I guess. I wouldn't have gotten it right.
Because the logic was the interruption tells me it wasn't exhausted.
Right.
Yet. That's where I was going with all that. And it seems to me that if it's still exhausted, it's still attached.
But obviously in some way wasn't because the committee could still debate it. I think that's where they're going.
Okay.
I wouldn't have gotten it right. I would have gone down the same path as you, so...
Crazy logic, but sometimes you just find...
Yeah, this is just one of those rules you got to learn, and it's going to come up again, and we won't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Reconsideration. This is the third.
Yay.
The 13th of July. Happy birthday to my late...
Yeah, none of the above is often the correct answer. We've had that a lot. Or all of the above. D is often the correct answer.
And a rule of thumb, just from my years of taking tests, and I even told my son this, try to eliminate none of the above or all of the above first, and if you can't, then it's usually the right answer.
Yeah.
Because all the above, if it's wrong, that leaves you with usually 3 answers, and if it's none of the above, then it's just one of them, and you have to figure out which one. So, in any case.
Favor! Let's hear the opposition side. Like a stubborn donkey's bray. All opposed? You say nay. Opposed! Opposed! The motion carries anyway.